Jude Bellingham is more than just a rising star. He's already one of the biggest names in world football. At just 16, he was dominating the championship. By 19, he was running the show in the Bundesliga. And now at 21, he's taken over the global stage, cementing himself as one of the best players on the planet. But despite his meteoric rise, he's been met with criticism. The media has called him arrogant, overrated, and even overprotected. Yet, time and time again, Bellingham has silenced the doubters and proved why he belongs at the very top. So, how did he do it? How did a young boy from Birmingham overcome every obstacle to become the best midfielder in the world? This is the incredible journey of Jude Bellingham. Before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Athletic Journal for more deep dives into football's biggest stars. Now, let's get into it. Jude Bellingham was born in the quiet town of Stourbridge, just outside Birmingham, about as far from the bright lights of the Bernabeu as you can imagine. But even as a kid, he dreamed of one day playing for Real Madrid. His first footballing idol wasn't a superstar from the Premier League or La Liga, it was his own father. Mark Bellingham wasn't a professional, but he was a goal-scoring machine in non-league football, netting over 700 goals in England's lower tiers. He juggled his career as a policeman with his love for the game, and every weekend, young Jude would watch his dad dominate on the pitch. Mark was more than just an inspiration. He was also his first coach, constantly giving Jude and his younger brother, Job, tips and advice that would shape their footballing futures. One day, Mark came home with a gift, an imitation jersey of Real Madrid legend Zinedine Zidane. And in that moment, Jude knew exactly what kind of player he wanted to be. But even in his wildest dreams, he couldn't have imagined that one day he would not only meet Zidane, but also wear his iconic number 5 shirt at the Santiago Bernabeu. By the time he was 8, Jude's talent was already turning heads. A Birmingham City scout spotted him playing for Stourbridge Juniors, and soon after, he was invited to join the club's academy. But getting into an academy is one thing, making it to the top is another. Most young talents fade away before they ever reach the professional level. Jude, however, was different. He thrived under pressure, embracing every challenge thrown his way, and what he was about to achieve would make him a Birmingham City legend. At just 15, he was already competing with players years older than him in Birmingham's under-23 squad. On his debut, he found the back of the net, something that would soon become a habit. His performances didn't go unnoticed, and soon he was being talked about as one of the most exciting young talents in English football. Then came his first real test. At just 16, Jude Bellingham was about to make history. After excelling in the youth ranks, he was given a shot at the senior team, becoming Birmingham City's youngest ever player, breaking a record that had stood since club legend Trevor Francis made his debut over 4 decades earlier. But the championship is no playground. It's one of the toughest leagues in Europe, physically demanding and relentless. And for a 16-year-old stepping into a struggling Birmingham City side, the odds were stacked against him. Most players his age would have struggled to keep up, but as we'd soon find out, Jude Bellingham was not like most players. Jude Bellingham's debut didn't go exactly as he might have hoped. Coming on as a substitute in a tough 3-0 defeat, he even picked up a yellow card, not the dream start every young player envisions. But his manager, Pep Clotet, knew what he had on his hands. In Birmingham's next game against Stoke City, when an injury forced an early substitution in the 30th minute, Clotet called on Bellingham. This time, the teenager seized his moment, scoring his first ever senior goal to secure the win for Birmingham. It may have been a lucky deflection, but it didn't matter. Jude Bellingham had just made history, becoming the youngest goal scorer in Birmingham City's history. His manager was quick to praise him, saying the goal was a reward for his relentless hard work. And this was no fluke. Bellingham found the net again in the very next match and quickly cemented himself as a regular starter. By the time January rolled around, his talent was impossible to ignore. Manchester United came knocking with a massive £20 million offer, eager to snap up England's most exciting young prospect. But Birmingham refused to sell. They knew Bellingham was special, and he finished the season as one of the championship's standout players, making 40 appearances and winning the Championship Young Player of the Season award. At just 16 years old, he had already shown he was destined for greatness. With Europe's top clubs circling, it was clear that Birmingham wouldn't be able to hold on to their young star for much longer. The biggest names in football, from Manchester United to Chelsea, were ready to throw money at him. But instead of following the traditional path to the Premier League, Jude made a decision that shocked the football world. He turned down the big money offers and focused on what mattered most, his development as a player. And then, Birmingham did something that sent shockwaves through the sport. They retired Bellingham's number 22 shirt, a move usually reserved for club legends, not a teenager with less than a year of senior football under his belt. Many questioned the decision, but as time would prove, it would go down as one of the most iconic moves in football history. At just 17 years old, Jude packed his bags and boarded a flight to Germany. His destination? Borussia Dortmund, the club he believed was the perfect fit to take his game to the next level. Despite being one of the brightest young stars in English football, Bellingham turned his back on the Premier League and chose Dortmund instead. He had seen what they had done for young players like Jadon Sancho, and he knew they were the best club for developing his talent. Dortmund believed in him too, paying a record-breaking £25 million to make him the most expensive 17-year-old in football history. From the moment he arrived in Germany, Bellingham felt at home. He saw similarities between Dortmund's working-class roots and his own upbringing in Birmingham, which only deepened his connection to the city. But moving abroad at such a young age came with sacrifices. His father, Mark, and younger brother, Job, stayed behind in England, while his mother, Denise, made the move with him. Even years later, Jude would talk about how much his mother did for him, saying she still made his bed and played a bigger role in his success than any coach or manager ever had. Being away from his family was tough, but Bellingham wasted no time making an impact at Dortmund. In his very first appearance, a cup match against Duisburg, he found the back of the net, becoming Dortmund's youngest ever goal scorer. Just a few weeks later, he set another record, becoming the youngest English player to start a Champions League match. His first season in Germany was nothing short of spectacular. By the time the campaign ended, Bellingham had lifted his first trophy as Dortmund won the DFB Pokal. He was also named the Bundesliga's newcomer of the season. But for Jude, this was just the beginning. He wasn't satisfied yet. There was still so much more to achieve. Jude Bellingham had his sights set on the biggest prizes in football. But in Germany, there was always one immovable object standing in his way: Bayern Munich. And before he could even continue his battle against them, he learned a harsh reality that no English player can escape: the inevitable heartbreak that comes with representing a nation that every 2 years experiences what it's like to be a Tottenham Hotspur fan. In November 2020, Bellingham made his England debut, becoming the third youngest player ever to wear the Three Lions shirt. A few months later, he was named to the Euro 2020 squad, where he broke yet another record as the youngest Englishman to play in a major tournament. But despite his talent, Gareth Southgate didn't yet fully trust him on the pitch, and Jude spent most of the tournament watching from the bench. And when England's best chance at a major trophy in years slipped away in the final against Italy, lost on penalties, he could only sit and watch as history repeated itself. Back in Germany, Dortmund were once again looking like serious title contenders. In December 2021, Bellingham delivered the kind of big-game performance that was becoming his trademark, registering 2 assists against Bayern Munich. But even that wasn't enough. A controversial penalty decision helped Bayern win 3-2, and Jude was furious. After the match, he didn't hold back, saying in a post-game interview, "You give a referee who has match fixed before the biggest match in Germany, what do you expect?" Those words earned him a €40,000 fine from the Bundesliga. But that wouldn't be the last time Bellingham made headlines for his comments or fiery gestures. His passion sometimes got the better of him, but it also made him one of the most captivating players in the sport. As the season wrapped up, Dortmund finished second, 8 points behind Bayern. But the following year, things would go down to the wire. And this time, Bellingham wasn't just a hot prospect, he was a leader. He even captained Dortmund on multiple occasions, proving that he could handle the responsibility and the immense pressure that came with it. The 2022-23 season didn't start smoothly. Dortmund were struggling, sitting as low as 6th when the league paused for the 2022 World Cup. But on the biggest stage in football, Bellingham proved he was more than ready for the spotlight. He scored his first international goal and put in a series of dominant performances, cementing himself as one of the stars of the tournament. But like always, England's journey ended in heartbreak. They were knocked out by France in the quarterfinals, another tournament slipping away. When Bellingham returned to Germany, he was determined to make up for it. Dortmund went on a remarkable run, losing just one game for the rest of the season. Bellingham was unstoppable. He was named Bundesliga Player of the Season, won the prestigious Golden Boy Award, and lifted the Copa Trophy, all while scoring a career-best 8 goals. But in the cruel world of football, sometimes even greatness isn't enough. With just 2 games to go, Bellingham suffered a knee injury that forced him to watch Dortmund's final match from the sidelines. All they needed was a win to secure their first Bundesliga title in over a decade. But in a shocking turn of events, they found themselves 2-0 down against Mainz. Jude sat on the bench, helpless, watching as his team fought to turn the game around. Dortmund clawed one back. Then, deep into injury time, they scored again. But it was too little, too late. They had lost the title on goal difference to Bayern Munich. As the final whistle blew, Bellingham was in tears. He stepped onto the pitch to say farewell to the fans, pushing the cameras away to hide his emotions. Later, he would reflect on the moment, saying, "I was just so heartbroken." Jude Bellingham's time in Germany had come to an end. After 132 games and 24 goals for Borussia Dortmund, he had conquered the Bundesliga on an individual level. But beyond the DFB Pokal he won in 2021, the biggest trophies still eluded him. It was time for the next step, the move that would send his career into the stratosphere and finally fulfill his childhood dream. Real Madrid had seen enough. They knew Jude was the future and made sure to secure his signature, spending 115 million euros to bring him to the Bernabeu, the highest transfer fee ever paid for an English player. But history wasn't exactly on his side. Many English players had struggled in Madrid. David Beckham was part of the famous Galacticos, but only managed to win 1 league title. Michael Owen lasted just a season before returning to England. And Jonathan Woodgate's debut was so disastrous, scoring an own goal and getting sent off, that it became legendary for all the wrong reasons. To make matters worse, Bellingham was joining a Real Madrid squad that had finished 10 points off the La Liga title and crashed out of the Champions League semifinals the season before. Could he really be the difference maker? Well, his debut suggested he could. Just 36 minutes into his first game against Athletic Bilbao, he found the back of the net, making an instant impact. But for Bellingham, 1 goal wasn't enough. He declared that you're not a proper Real Madrid player until you win the Champions League. At Dortmund, he had primarily played as a central or defensive midfielder, but Carlo Ancelotti had other plans. He pushed Bellingham further forward into an attacking midfield role, and the results were immediate. Madrid's new number 5 was thriving, 5 goals in his first 4 games, 8 in his first 8. La Liga had a new superstar, and with it, his now iconic arms-out celebration was born. But there was one match that would truly cement his place among football's elite, El Clásico. In front of a roaring crowd in Barcelona's Olympic Stadium, Real Madrid went behind early as İlkay Gündoğan gave Barca the lead in the 6th minute. The home fans were in full voice, but then in the 68th minute, Jude silenced them with a stunning strike to equalize. Then, in the 92nd minute, he delivered the knockout blow, scoring the winning goal and securing a dramatic comeback victory. That moment confirmed what many already suspected. Bellingham wasn't just one of the best young players in the world. He was one of the best players in the world, period. And it wasn't just on the pitch where he was making waves. Adidas made him the face of their Predator boots, the same boots once worn by his idol, Zinedine Zidane. But football is never that simple. The second half of the 2024-25 season brought challenges. Suspensions and injuries disrupted his momentum, and he managed just 5 league goals after the new year. Even so, his influence on the pitch remained immense. Then came another controversial moment, one that nearly overshadowed everything else. In March, Real Madrid faced Valencia, and Bellingham scored a last-second winner, or so he thought. The referee claimed he had already blown the final whistle, ruling the goal out. Furious, Jude let his emotions take over, shouting at the official and earning himself a red card and a 2-match suspension. But he came back even stronger. In the second Clásico of the season, with the league title on the line, he once again stepped up in the dying moments. This time, he struck in the 91st minute to win the game for Madrid, effectively sealing the La Liga title. That goal made him the club's all-time top English goalscorer, surpassing Beckham, Laurie Cunningham, and yes, even Jonathan Woodgate. By the end of the season, he was Real Madrid's top scorer in La Liga, leading them to the title with a 10-point gap over Barcelona. It was his first league title, but there was still one prize left to chase, the biggest one of them all. In the Champions League quarterfinals, Real Madrid faced the reigning champions, Manchester City, the team that had eliminated them the previous season. To give his team the best chance, Bellingham was asked to play as a false 9, a role he wasn't used to. The game went to penalties, and Bellingham stepped up. He later admitted that the pressure of penalties is the most uncomfortable and lonely feeling a player can experience. But you wouldn't have known it watching him. He sent the keeper the wrong way, helping Madrid move on to the semifinals. Next up, Bayern Munich. Madrid were on the verge of elimination, trailing with just minutes to go. But in the 88th minute, Bellingham played the perfect pass to Vinicius Junior, whose shot was saved, only for Joselu to pounce on the rebound. Seconds later, Joselu scored again, and just like that, Real Madrid were heading to the final. And fate had one last twist. Waiting for them in the Champions League final was none other than Borussia Dortmund, the club that had helped turn Bellingham into a global star. The final, played at Wembley Stadium, was a tense affair. Dortmund dominated the first half, but in the 74th minute, Madrid finally broke through. 9 minutes later, Bellingham set up Vinicius for the goal that sealed the victory. As the final whistle blew, Jude spotted his parents in the crowd and broke down in tears. All those years of hard work, all the sacrifices, all the setbacks, it had all led to this moment. He had just won the Champions League, providing an assist in the final, exactly as he had once dreamed. But Bellingham's story wasn't over. Far from it. Just weeks later, he would return to Germany, not as a club player, but as the leader of the England national team, looking to do what his country had just missed out on 3 years earlier, win the European Championship. This time, he wasn't just a promising youngster breaking into the squad. This time, he was England's star, carrying the hopes of an entire nation on his shoulders. And he was still only 20 years old. Spain, though, were unstoppable and scored early in the second half, but then Bellingham gave England a chance, as his pass set up Cole Palmer, who equalized, making that Jude's second assist in a major final that summer. But it was not to be, as Spain scored late on to break both England's and Bellingham's hearts. He said, "When the whistle blew, everything went numb." Jude, in his anger, kicked over a water bottle basket, and the English media was on his back once again, labeling him petulant and selfish. And Jude said they always seem to need a scapegoat, and that time it was him. But despite the struggles at the end of the season, he was still named La Liga's best player. Meaning in back-to-back years, Jude had been named the best footballer in Germany and Spain, and he was also in the running for football's top individual trophy, the Ballon d'Or, where he placed third behind Rodri and teammate Vinny Jr., placing him firmly among the world's best. But despite this electric season, the doubters still stood strong, and with a slow start to the 24-25 season, haters began to believe he was just an overrated and arrogant one-season wonder. But of course, Jude has already started to prove them wrong yet again, as he has done time and time again, and still at only 21 years old, he's surely going to dominate football for the next decade to come. Because the only question is, who else? Now, if you think Bellingham is one of the best football players in the world, You just have to subscribe.